caught by a Maidstone fan. Tonbridge player runs over, Maidstone fan throws the ball away.
I thought referee Hersey was going to book the Maidstone fan for a moment there where he blew his whistle. I was a bit worried, so I'll get running.
Yeah, he may well do that. And that is the end of the game. 94 minutes and 18 seconds, and Maidstone United 2, Tonbridge 0. So
bit of relief for Maidstone, Darren. There, I think is the main thing to say. Bit of relief.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game where Maidstone started well. There were a few Tonbridge attacks in the first half, but one really decent save from Coverland, but nothing really substantial. And you have to say that by half time, Maidstone United 2-0 up and kind of dominated. The first goal was an own goal, but it's an absolutely fantastic cross from Harry Cipriano.
It's that persistence down the left-hand side, isn't it,
absolutely.
Because he'd had so many balls down there, and I've said it before, you do wonder with Cipriano. He's played every position bar striker and goalkeeper so far this season for Maidstone, and you do wonder, because of the full-back system that has been played with 5 at the back, the full-backs that are going to be left and right back in a back 4 for Maidstone are clearly still being given the licence to go forward and maraud and get those crosses in. And obviously Hoyt hasn't done as much of that this afternoon, and there was a lot of pressure on Timmy Abraham initially. We thought he was going to be booked inside the first 15-20 minutes. So that focus on Cipriano over on that left-hand side, so much great attacking play as well as defensively, and that ball in for that first one. The very fortuitous goal, but again Maidstone making those attacking moments, and Cipriano putting that ball in to the danger area.
Well, I would say in contrast it wasn't fortuitous, because if Cody Lyons Foster hadn't stuck it home, Matt Rush was there.
Indeed. So it's getting the balls into the right areas, and certainly from a Maidstone perspective that was very much the right time for them to get that goal, because they were then able to build on that, unlike what they were trying to do on Boxing Day, of course.
And Sol Wanjao Smith for the second goal worked really, really hard. Great ball in by Cipriano. He was just trying to win the ball and was fouled in the box. Referee took a little time to make his decision, which is always nice to see. Instantaneous refereeing tends to be bad refereeing. Penalty, one of the best penalties you'll ever see by Sam Corn.
It was a real good top corner contender. I'm looking forward to seeing the highlights to see exactly where the contact was made by Tarek Hines, but certainly, the referee was there long enough, had a much better view than we would have done, very much on top of it. Like it wasn't pretty much every decision that he had to make this afternoon, Darren, is very good for the most part was Hersey.
I
a clear one in the
that's
end
a great summary. Very, very good for the most part. Certainly he'd have to be happy with his day's work today. And let's move on to the second half. Tonbridge exerted a little bit more pressure. I'd still say it was probably Maidstone's half, and then they absorbed it. I think that the main thing, certainly second half with Tonbridge, is that they got plenty of opportunities and free kicks, and I've used the words fluffed, I'll use it again, they fluffed them. There were plenty of free kicks, so certainly in the second half, that they didn't do particularly well. They hit 2 straight into the Maidstone wall, where something a little bit more imaginative could have got them something. And then at 2-1, then becomes a different game of football.
Exactly, it would have been, but fortunately for Maidstone, they weren't making any mistakes. There was no comeuppance for Maidstone, wrong footing themselves. That seemed to me, Darren, and certainly from what you're saying as well, I agree, is that the only way Tonbridge were going to get back into this one this afternoon was by making a mistake themselves, Maidstone. It wasn't, obviously Tuesday, Boxing Day, was going to be that world-class moment from Higgs, was going to be the only way they were going to get back into it there. Maidstone had learnt their lesson and made sure they were on a man apiece all the time, certainly for set pieces, and which they had plenty of in that second half to try and get something from. But it was always going to be an error rather than, it was an error or a world-class moment, and they were so aware of the world-class moment to steal a match. But in this case they were 2-0 up and weren't able to steal it from there. Like you said in commentary, it was going to have to be 2-1 to get a Higgs moment, which didn't happen. So Maidstone defended very well, very resolutely, pretty much for both of these games, for the whole 3 hours against Tonbridge in this last festive period, this last week. And George Elokobi making his way off the pitch. He is very happy with that performance. defensively. Obviously, Fagan down there, Craig
Fagan
will be happy with
well,
the attack mind side of things. Again, not too many chances created for Maidstone, but a lot of play through Cipriano. Wanjo Smith, you have to mention, of course, his flick for the first goal to put Cipriano in. And then, of course, Wanjo Smith winning that penalty for the second goal for vice skip Sam Corn. So, 2-0. And obviously, Maidstone hoping that Wanjo Smith just be a knock and precautionary, because I think he'd done his work by then, playing 3/4 of the match.
I think his ankle isn't of the best quality, and sometimes it can, just another little knock there. But the only worrying thing is that, having said that Tonbridge had all those good free kick opportunities, is the fact that we gave them away in that position.
It's knowing whether that's going to be an issue come the Stevenage match, because I know we've had a hot take of sorts on this match here with Tonbridge this afternoon, and probably done what we can with that, but we probably have to include a little look ahead to Stevenage as well at this point, don't we, and probably quickly check how they've got on this afternoon as well, because I know they were 2-1 down at half time at Portsmouth, which is always a very, very tricky place to go. Did stay 2-1 as well there, and they had Thompson sent off in the 96th minute, Nathan Thompson, a defender. So I know the rules are a bit different between Football League and National League South, at least, because I know Raves Brown's suspension would be in place for the FA Cup game, because it was less than a week from the Tonbridge away to Tonbridge home, so Rafe was available this afternoon. But for the FA Cup game, it's further away. But I do believe the club have appealed. So depending on when the appeal is dealt with for the mistaken identity, if it's dealt with after the match, then Rafe will presumably be available for the Stevenage game. However, for Stevenage having a man sent off today, I think they're very quick and hot on these things, and that immediate red card, so he should very well be suspended. So someone like Nathan Thompson, who regularly plays, is a starting 11 man for. Well, I say that he was on the bench the last couple of games, but certainly he played this afternoon.
I believe National League, National and above, it is instantaneous, with the idea that they're mainly professional, so they're able to appeal straight away if appeal there is.
He come on for Dan Sweeney at half time. So there's there's all sorts of connotations and mixes of Stevenage of old and new, Maidstone of old and new. Dan Sweeney likely to be involved now, even more so on Saturday, if it wasn't an injury that he picked up from that half time substitution. So it's a very interesting few days ahead for this club. The world's media, frankly, of the sport and variety is going to descend on the Gallagher. I know they've got a media day coming up in the next few days before the match later on in this week, and George Elacobe is going to be incredibly busy with requests for media and reading Sol Wanjo Smith's piece in Pulse Sports, for example, and it's just going to be very intriguing to see how this week pans out from a Maidstone United perspective. We said before the match, we said on air, and we're saying it now, Maidstone needed a result today, not necessarily the performance, but just that confidence just to turn in Maidstone's favour, just to turn the dial a little bit. Stevenage, having had a game called off, having lost at top of the table in League One, just to know that they're not the biggest fish in that division, and also the fact that they're now pretty much slid out the playoffs as well. Will one eye for them go on to the league situation potentially, and they not be fully concentrated potentially how Barrow were against Maidstone a few weeks ago or so? So, score prediction. No, I'm only joking.
No, I'm not even going to go there. I will say that obviously it being FA Cup, there won't be a Stones live broadcast. Am I correct in saying that?
However,
we will have Fred Atkins and Nigel Seeger. So if you're a fan of the hot take and watch of an evening for John Gooch to put that up, then there will be one. Hopefully Fred and Nigel will be here.
Oh, they should be based roughly where we are. Yeah, they'll be wearing the same underpants, same everything from the Barrow game. Everything will be quaffed into the exact same position.
I know Sean does our scheduling and went to great pains to, if at all possible, get Fred and Nigel back on because they did the Barrow game.
I did indeed. I did wonder if Matt Davison was going to potentially feature for us. Would have loved to have heard what his opinion had been on that, but obviously you can't have everything. So we'll make do with Fred and Nigel as we do on Stones Live.
Absolutely, and as well, the 3021, I believe it was, crowd has largely melted away. There might be a couple of people in the Spitfire Lounge, but it's ended, and the scoreboard's gone off, but it's ended. Maidstone United 2, Tonbridge Angels 0, and well, it's probably about time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, and come on you Stones, and
well, and thank you, Sean.
You're welcome, and yeah, here's hoping for a bit more FA Cup magic. Fourth round for the first time.
Absolutely. It's possible, and I've already quoted him today, but to quote the late former Altrincham boss John King, it's 11 on to 11 0-0 at the beginning.